Struggling to earn 3 stars at Town Hall 14? Well, these are the 5 best attack strategies you need to use to 3-star any base. Kicking us off at number 5 is the Blizzard Lalo. Yes, Lavaloon is a viable option, especially with a different way to use the hero dive and Lalo. First things first, we want to start off with the Blizzard. This portion is set up by using the Ice Hound and the Battle Blimp. The Blimp wants to try and remove the Town Hall, whether it's in the core or not, so you don't have to worry about the Town Hall poison. Obviously, we want to use an invisibility, a rage spell, and then another invisibility spell, and then from there, you want to time them every 4 seconds. You want to get the most amount of chain value from your super wizards, so you're able to clear as many defensive buildings and possibly the CC as you can. This way, you're able to set up proper funneling on that side as well. Now, with your hero dive, you're going to be using 2 of them, the Royal Champion and the Archer Queen. The Royal Champion using her Rocket Spear and Seeking Shield to snipe defenses, while the Queen is able to deal with other defenses on her own, paired with the action figure, but also to snipe down an air defense with the Giant Arrow. This is going to clear one side of the base for your funnel. Otherwise, we want to then start our Lavaloon. This is where we'll use a Ice Hound with a few groups of balloons and the Warden and Minion Prince. The main reason we're taking Inferno Dragons in this is to deal with enemy heroes, especially the Queen, Minion Prince, and Royal Champion. Otherwise, as they continue to work in, you can send in another Ice Hound with a couple groups of balloons as they continue to work around. You should use the Lavaloon Puppet in this case in order to add extra tanking while you start to move in, where you can use a haste spell in order to move all your balloons in. You can also use a clone spell here in order to add even more balloons, and even the Dark Orb of the Minion Prince to slow down defenses. Otherwise, other spells like the freeze spells are great for multi-target infernos, and you can use another haste spell in order to power up the balloons and get them closer to defenses. Otherwise, this should easily dominate a lot of bases so long as you can get good value. The Lavaloon puppets are great for this because they offer a bit extra tanking and also cleanup from the Lavaloon pups. Overall, a great option if you really like Lavaloon armies. Now moving on over to number 4, we have the Mass Electro Dragons. These guys are still fairly strong here at Town Hall 14 despite not having totem spells, mostly due to the fact that Electro Dragons got a buff in the past, with making them a fairly strong option even at Town Hall 14. For this attack, you want to start with the Archer Queen and her Giant Arrow on one side of the base. This is also going to typically be used with the Siege Barrack in order to set up great funneling for your E-Drags, while then also using a few of those E-Drags alongside a CC Totem and a Rage spell in order to get a really nice funnel set for the rest of your Electro Dragons, where you have the Minion Prince, the Grand Warden, and a few balloons to soak up Seeking Air Mines and other air traps. So as you continue to work in, you can use an early Grand Warden ability with the Eternal Tome and Healing Tome to get through the defensive CC, but also to mainly deal with the core of the base. You can use other spells like freeze spells to solidify areas of the base down, such as air sweepers or single target infernos. So as you work into the core, you have the Minion Prince's Dark Orb to slow things down. Over on the back end, you've got the Royal Champion with her Rocket Spear and Seeking Shield. She doesn't necessarily need the Electro Boots here, and you're able to very easily snipe defenses like it's nothing. And for the most part, so long as the core is gone, you should be able to 3-star more often than not. Just make sure that you use your free spells, kind of like totem spells, and focus on using them on high DPS defenses that are going to take down your E-Drags fairly easily. So that way you can easily deal with them throughout bases and 3-star quite comfortably. As for number 3, we have the Mass Super Hogs. This is still a very powerful strategy, especially after the buff to the Life Gem, giving it a lot more survivability for Super Hogs. Now for this attack, we want to start with the Royal Champion charge, obviously, where we're going to use our invisibility spells every 4 seconds. Keep in mind, we do not have the Spirit Fox in this situation, so we want to use our invisibility spells every 4 seconds to keep her and the pet invisible, so we're able to then recall them later on. We don't need to get a huge amount of value, so long as we're able to create pathing that is all that we really need on this first side of the base. This way we can then recall her back into the army to be used later. This way we can then use a few Yetis to cut off the funnel for our main hero dive push with the king and the queen. The Yetis here are able to set up beautiful funneling where we have an ice golem, the super wall breaker in order to open us into the base, with the archer queen and the barbarian king into the base. We also have a log launcher here in order to get ourselves towards the core of the base if possible. This way we're able to use our hero abilities such as the giant gauntlet and rage vial from the barbarian king. This gives him a lot of survivability and damage as you continue to work around, while the archer queen has her action figure and magic mirror, or you can use the magic mirror with the healer puppets, but as long as you have it paired with a rage spell, you should be doing a ton of damage while still having survivability. This is able to clear the CC and the core of the base, so you can send in your super hogs, the royal champion, and using your regular hogs around the base to control funneling. As for your spells, you've got heal spells that you mainly want to use to heal up your super hogs. Just make sure to use them a little bit better than I did, where you want to use them as they work through and in between defenses, so you're able to still get the best value out of the healing. Otherwise, as you continue to work towards the core or towards the town hall or something else, or a high damage zone, you should use the eternal tome in order to protect everything. This way, you're able to keep a large chunk of your troops alive, and you can pair this with a healing spell to at least protect them while still letting them get healed back up to full HP. This overall should let you 3-star most bases, and a lot of those super riders can be used for cleanup, making it a much easier time to get through bases and allowing you to have a very strong option in attacking. Now, for number 2, we have the Fireball Super Witches. This is actually very powerful and is definitely worth doing if you really enjoy Super Witch attacks and especially smash attacks with the Fireball. To start off this attack, you want to use the invisibility spells on nearby defenses and the fireball to launch into the base to clear out a large area out of it. This is going to set up great funneling for your main push with the Super Witches. Overall, we want to make sure that once a funnel is set, we lure over the Grand Warden, so we're able to use the Ice Golem, the Archer Queen, and with the Barbarian King, we're able to use him to set up funneling. In this case, we've got the Vamp Stash and the Spiky Ball, which is a great option if you don't have the Snake Bracelet yet. But as you continue to work into the base, you do want to make sure that you are having balloons to scout out for air traps, and you can place them individually so you can space them out. But as you work towards the core of the base, an overgrowth should be used in order to minimize damage against those defenses while using a jump spell to enter the next area of the base. So as you're continuing to work through, you can easily deal with a lot of different areas, even having a rage spell to power up your Super Witches and Big Boys as they continue to work in towards something like the Town Hall. In this situation, we've got the Royal Champion on the back end with her Electro Boots to provide value against air traps. Otherwise, as we continue to work through, we can just let the Super Witches and all of the other troops do their own thing. If you have any leftover totem spells, you should use them here to minimize damage, but otherwise this is a fairly easy way to get through bases like it's nothing. And Super Witches are exactly one of the better ways of 3-starring at Town Hall 14, despite the range of the fireball not being nearly as good as it at Town Hall 15 or higher. And number 1 is the Royal Champion Charge Dragons. This is a very powerful attack, and despite not having the Spirit Fox, the Royal Champion Charge is extremely strong and potent, especially with dragons. To start this attack off, we want to start off with the Royal Champion and her Rocket Spear. Pairing this up with an Earthquake spell allows us to clear out defenses with one less spear, allowing us to get plenty of value before we start using our invisibility spells. This is where then we could use our invisibility spells every 4 seconds. So long as both the Royal Champion and her pet are within the invisibility, you should be perfectly fine as you continue to work around the base, clearing out defensive of value, and possibly even removing the Town Hall like it's nothing thanks to having multiple invisibility spells. This overall is going to establish one part of your funnel, so that way you can then use the Archer Queen with her giant arrow to snipe down an air defense if possible, while setting up funneling and having the Siege Barrack to reinforce tanking and value. You can also deal with the defensive CC with the use of a poison spell, but over on the other side of the base, you're going to send in your dragons, the minion prince, and the Grand Warden as you continue to work into the base. You do want to try and mainly prioritize some high value defenses. Things like the Scattershot or things like the Eagle Artillery are things to remove. You do want to make sure that as you're continuing to work in, you use the Eternal Tome and Healing Tome to protect as many units as you continue to work a little bit deeper into the base. You also have CC totem spells that you can use to minimize a lot of damage. You have the Dark Orb in order to slow down defenses, especially in the core of the base, so your dragons are able to stay alive as they go through heavy fire, and you should be able to dominate most bases with this strategy. Now, each of these attacks should help you in earning 3 stars depending on your skill level, as my personal favorite is the Lava Loon, and it's incredibly fun, yet quite difficult, especially if you're new to it. Obviously though, if you want to check out a full guide on Dragon Riders, I recommend checking out this video here, but YouTube says you might prefer this one instead.